Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Nordic here. So today is Tuesday when you guys see this video, and we are starting a brand new series on the channel where every single Tuesday I will be tier ranking something within the hockey world. Could be NHL related, could be something that's not NHL related, but is hockey related. It's something we're going to do every single Tuesday to kind of give you guys something to be excited for on your average Tuesday. And today we are going to be tier ranking every team's number one defenseman right now. So without further ado, let's get straight into this. So as you guys can tell here, we have all 32 defensemen. Now there may be some ones where you're like, oh, why did you put him as their number one defenseman? But we'll get into that as we roll through the defenders, of course. We have 6 columns here. I tried to roll with 5, but I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm going to have to put in a 6th one. So we have the best, which I think only one defenseman's going to go in here. You should know who that one defenseman is. You have elite, where only maybe 2 or 3 defenders, maybe 1 or 2 go in here. Then you have very good, which is where there'll be I think 4 or 5. Good is where most of them will be. Then you have above average, and then just plain average. To be honest with you, for a number one defender. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it here. And these are all in different order, by the way, and I will obviously specify them with every single defenseman that we go through. But regardless, let's get into it. So, starting off with Mike Matheson of the Montreal Canadiens. I think Matheson is somebody that people forget about a lot, and you might be saying, Nordic, why don't you have Lane Hudson in there? Yes, I know that, but I'm gonna roll with Matheson because Hudson's in his rookie season. With me, I would say Matheson is in the bottom 2, either above average or average for an overall defenseman. I don't think that he's in this range because, to be honest with you, there's a lot of really good defensemen in this league, but I don't think Matheson is a standout when it comes to number one defenseman. So I'm actually going to put him in average. I think he's a mostly average defender, to be honest with you guys. Some people may disagree with that, but that's what I'm rolling with here. Next up then, Evan Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers. I think Evan Bouchard isn't very good. I think that he isn't elite. He is borderline elite, and there might be some people who don't like that. But I think overall right now, Bouchard is a very good defenseman. He has honestly put up great numbers, and obviously in the playoffs had, I think, the most amount of points scored by a defenseman in one singular playoff run ever, which is pretty impressive considering the fact that we had years of Bobby Orr and Nick Lidstrom and Paul Coffey and all that, and I know they played at different eras, but still, it's impressive that Bouchard has completed a feat like that, so I think he is overall very good. Drew Doughty up next here for the LA Kings. I think Doughty, people forget about him because, first off, I think he's still injured from that injury he suffered in the preseason. But with Drew Doughty, I'm going to put him in good. I don't think that he is very good at this point in his career, but he is still a good number one defenseman for the Kings. Again, I think a lot of what Doughty brings is the leadership and the veteran presence. He definitely brings a good defensive style to his game as well. But overall, I think that right now, I think he is a good defenseman. If we're talking full career here, he's probably up here. But he's staying in good for me, at least as of right now. All right, this is where we get controversial. It might already be controversial as it is. Next up, we have Jake Sanderson for the Ottawa Senators. I think Sanderson's having a really good season for the Senators right now. Right now, though, I'm going to put him borderline very good, but just at the top of good. I don't think that he is at that very good point just yet. He's one of those guys that I might actually lean towards good later, very good later on in this video, because I know there's going to be definitely a couple of them that I'm going to be bouncing back and forth on throughout this video, but I would say that Sanderson is a good number one defenseman, and that opinion might change when I get to the corrections at the end of this, and I have a change of opinion. Next up, Cam Fowler of the Anaheim Ducks. I think Fowler is good, but he's not an incredible number one defenseman. He's similar to Josh Manson, who was on the Ducks for a while. Hypothetically, if you put him on any other really contending team, he is not a number one defenseman probably. So I would say he's probably an above average defender though. I think that he is still very good. He brings a good two-way style. He's also been in Anaheim for forever. He's been there for a very long time, since before their rebuild. And I think that overall Fowler is still about Jesus Christ, about an above average defenseman in my opinion. Next up, you got Good, or not. You have Chris Letang putting in Good. Jesus, I'm losing my mind today. I think Letang is still a good defenseman, but he's borderline above average at this point in his career. I don't think that he is at that point where he was during the years where they were winning Stanley Cups and where they were very good. I don't think that he's there anymore, to be honest with you guys. And some of you guys may not like that, but that's where I'm standing on with Letang right now. Some people may even argue that Erik Karlsson's their number one defenseman, but I'm rolling with Chris Letang because he's been there for a very long time. You could have your disagreements, but I'm rolling with Chris Letang right now. Maybe later on in the future, I'll do an entire defensive tier list. I'll tier rank every first pairing defenseman in the league. I mean, hey, we're doing this every single Tuesday. I'm going to run out of ideas eventually, so why not do it that way? But regardless, let's move on. Rasmus Dahlin of the Buffalo Sabres. I'm going to roll Dahlin at borderline very good, but borderline elite. I think that he is a very good defenseman, but I know who's going to be in my elite and the best. I think that he is overall a very good defender. I feel like I could have worded these columns better, but I'm rolling with very good for Dahlin. I think Dahlin brings a lot of value to that Sabres defense, which is already young and seems like it's going to be stacked for the future. Right now, though, I'm going with very good for him. Next up, then, Roman Josi for Nashville. I'm actually going to put him in elite. I think Roman Josi's elite, even though so far this season, the Predators and maybe even him as well haven't really shown that. I think he is an elite defenseman. There's only going to be like 4 or 5 defenders who are in this column for me personally. But I'm going to roll with Roman Josi and elite as of right now. Again, these are not finalized. I may change these throughout this video, so keep that in mind. Next up, Dougie Hamilton for the Devils. I think Hamilton is a good defenseman. I don't think he is very good by any means. He's not a standout guy, but I think he is still a good defender for sure. I would put him above Drew Doughty 100%. But I think Hamilton is still good. I mean, he suffered an injury last year, so it's a little bit hard to tell if, like, some of his stuff's going to continue. But I think overall, as of right now, he is still a good defenseman for the Devils, and probably their number one, at least as of right now. Maybe when Luke Hughes gets a little more developed, he may be their number one defenseman, but we'll see that for another time. Noah Dobson for the Islanders. I'm going to put Dobson in good as well. Again, this is where the large majority of defenders are going to go in here. A lot of them are going to go into good because I kind of know where most of the other guys are going to go. So, yeah, I'm going to roll with that for now. I think Dobson's had a few really good seasons with the Islanders. He's not very good, but he does carry a lot of that blue line for them, carries a lot of the offense, has really kind of shaped himself, especially last season, as a really solid offensive defender, and I think he's performed very well. Next up, then, we have Adam Fox, and we're going to put another guy in elite here. We're going to put him ahead of Roman Josi. In my opinion, I believe he is a top 3 defenseman in this league. Again, you guys can see the other defensemen that are listed below here. You guys know who are the elite and who the best of the best are. So I think that right now, Adam Fox is just an elite defenseman and does a lot for that Rangers team. And I think that people kind of there's been some people over this offseason who have kind of discredited Adam Fox a little bit, but he's still very good. All right, next up, Travis Sanheim for the Philadelphia Flyers. For Sanheim, Personally, I think that he shows sparks of being a good number 1 defenseman, but he's probably in this column. I gotta be honest with you guys. He's probably an average number 1. I think Sanheim shows good offensive capabilities, but he's not like a above average or good defenseman in my eyes. And that's me saying it as a Flyers fan. I think he shows good offensive capabilities and has some good defensive sides to his game. But when you're looking at other defensemen around the league, he is towards the bottom of that list for guys who are really good. Next up, then, Jake Wallman. Wallman should be very easy. I mean, with San Jose, you could put a few guys at number 1. You could put Cody Ceci. You could put Mark-Edouard Vlasic. But I roll with Jake Wallman because I think he looks good so far with them. I'm going to put him in average. I think he is probably the bottom of this list for average, to be honest with you. He might even be like a below average number one. He should not be a number one. He would not be a number one on almost every single other team. So, for me, I think that average is where Jake Wallman should be. I think I like Wallman. I'm not trying to discredit Wallman here, but I think that overall, when you're looking at other defensemen in this league, like if you put him on other teams, he's not a number one defenseman. So I have to put him in average. Unfortunately. Next up, then, Brandon Montour recently was brought into Seattle. You might argue that Vince Dunn's their number one defenseman. I asked a few Kraken fans who they thought their number one was, and a lot of them said Montour. That might be because of Vince Dunn being injured right now, but I'm going to roll with Brandon Montour for now. Some people may not like that, but you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Montour, I think, is a good defenseman. I'd probably put him, I don't know, is he better than Doughty, or is... I'll put him right here for now. Again, I'll change a few things when I do this later on, but I think Montour's still very good. He showed in Florida that he can be a really good top pairing defender. He works out well as a number one guy for Seattle, but again, it's a little early so far to tell if he can really do it as their number one, because I don't know. I wouldn't say he's their number one right now. Or I wouldn't say that he was the number one in Florida, because there was Ekblad and even Forsling too. But I think above all, he is still a good number one defenseman for sure. Next up, then, Colin Parayko. I'm going to put Parayko in above average. I don't think that he is anything really that special. Again, you could argue Torrey Krug is their number one defenseman there too. Again, there's a lot of teams where it's like it's very clear who their number one defenseman is, but for other teams, it's like, I don't really know. I don't really know if it's they're his number one defender. So I think Parayko in average is fine. I don't think he is really that special by any means, but he's not average. I think he's still solid, and I think that you put him on a couple of other teams, he's a really good top pairing defenseman for sure. So I'd put him in above average. Next up, then, you have Victor Hedman. And Hedman's a little bit of a hard one to really depict here, because I think that Hedman, overall, he is you're at that point in his career where, like, you don't really know. I'm going to put him in borderline good. I'm going to put him behind Jake Sanderson, though, because I am one who is really high on Sanderson, and I think that Sanderson's a great defenseman. I'm just like really hesitant to put him in very good at this point in his career, or put Sanderson at very good at this point. So again, like, there's a few things here that I'm a little bit like iffy on, but I think that Hedman is still a good number one guy. I think you put him on a lot of other teams, he is still their number one defenseman. Just a defensive game really makes me a little bit like, I don't know. Because he has been like good offensively, but defensively his game has not been that strong, to be honest with you guys. So Hedman, I think, in good right now at this stage in his career, I think is fine, in my opinion. Next up, then, Morgan Rielly for Toronto. I would put Rielly. Rielly's probably right here. Maybe right here. Again, like, it doesn't really matter the order. They're still in the same column as it is. But I think that Rielly is a good defenseman. I think that he brings, he's been there for a very long time in Toronto. He's solid offensively, has solid numbers defensively. I think that when you look at Toronto as a whole, I think that he makes that blue line solid and rounds it up very well. And again, he's been there for a very long time. He's a long-time Maple Leaf. So I would put him in good for sure. All right, next up, Rasmus Andersson. Andersson is probably going in good as well. I would put him, he's definitely better than Morgan Rielly for sure. Yeah, I'd put him right here for now. I think I'd maybe move Montour above Rielly. No, I'll keep Rielly there. Andersson, probably the biggest trade candidate of number one defenseman on this list. I think that overall, Andersson, really good. He's been there for a while in Calgary, was a part of some pretty good blue lines, but I'd say now, like, with Calgary having this pretty good start to the season, he does kind of carry the workload a lot of that blue line, which is not a strong blue line whatsoever. You got him and Mackenzie Weegar, and then a lot of other guys who kind of just got there. So right now, I would put Andersson in good. I don't know if he's, like, very good, because, again, I can't put, like, everyone in very good. You got to have some boundaries here for me. So, yeah, I'd personally put Andersson in good. I think that's where he fits. Mikhail Sergachev, and we're looking at Utah now, but of course a lot of this is going to be based off of the majority-wise of what he was in Tampa. Sergachev, I think, is still good. I'm going to put him right here. I'll put him right here, in between Anderson and Riley. Sergachev, and the thing is with him, he was a part of some very good Lightning blue lines when they won those Stanley Cups. But now with Utah, and especially since last year because he was injured, kind of hard to really place him. I think he's still a good defenseman. So I think him being good is fine. Again, a lot of these guys are like, they don't really need explanations. Like, you know where most of these players are going to go. You know that Sergachev is a good defenseman, and that's where I think he deserves to be. Next up, then, you got Quinn Hughes. And Quinn Hughes, I have really, and for a long time, I believed he's going right here. He's going at the top of elite. By far, it's not really that close. There are some people who do believe that Adam Fox is better. Again, this isn't like a defenseman rankings. But overall, I think that Hughes, I saw him in person, and it really changed my opinion on him. The way he moves the puck, the way he can do both sides of the ice is just really impressive to me. And I think that overall, with someone like Hughes, he's got to go in elite. He is an elite number one defenseman on Vancouver. He is one of the best pickups. He's their captain. He's terrific. So for me, he is going in elite. And I think I'm going to make a change here. I think I'm going to move Roman Josi down to very good. I think he is still very good. I'm also going to move Evan Bouchard up to here as well. Yeah, I like that. Next up then we got Shea Theodore for Vegas. Theodore, I'm going to put him in good as well. I'm going to put him above Anderson. Again, the good column's really getting filled up there. But again, that's where a lot of these guys are going to go, to be honest with you. So I think that Shea Theodore recently got signed to a contract. Might not even be like their number one defenseman. You could argue like, oh, it's Pietrangelo. Oh, it's Hannafin. That Vegas decor is so stacked. You could argue a few guys in there. But for right now, I am going to go with Theodore and good. I think that he is a good defenseman at this point in his career, and I am a big fan of him, and I have been for a while, ever since he came to Vegas from, I think it was Florida? I'm not 100% sure, or Dallas. I'm probably getting that wrong, but again, like that was a while ago at this point. But Shea Theodore, I think, is a very good number one defenseman on the Golden Knights. I don't think he's like the best of the best, though, for sure. He's not in that range for me at all. John Carlson for Washington. I think Carlson is one of the more underrated defensemen in this league. I'm going to put him in good as well. Again, the good column's really getting filled up here. You got to be honest. Like, there's a lot of guys who, like, you're very good, you're elites, the best. Then you have your range of all really good guys. Then you have your above average, and then you just have, like, your guys that are kind of like, they're pretty average defensemen, to be honest. So I'm going to roll with Carlson and good, but I like, in my opinion, I just think that he is one of the more underappreciated and one of the more underrated defensemen in the league. He's put up very good offensive numbers. He's played in eras where Erik Karlsson and other guys were around that he can never win any Norrises. But I think he's put up very good offensive tallies throughout his career, and I think that should not go unnoticed whatsoever. So a lot of credit goes to John Carlson for shaping that Capitals blue line for a very long time. All right, next up, Josh Morrissey of the Winnipeg Jets. We have a very controversial one here. People are going to be blown away by this, but I'm putting him in very good. I think that he is a very good defenseman. I don't think people give him enough credit. I think that he really carries that Winnipeg blue line, which is not that good as it is. And I understand that they have Connor Hellebuck in there as well. But I think that Morrissey is still one of the best defensemen in this league, and I think that he should not go unnoticed. Without a doubt, top 10 for sure. Especially with how Winnipeg has played this year, he is the man. He is absolutely the man. All right, down the stretch here, only have a few more guys left. We're going to move on to Seth Jones of Chicago. I'm going to put Jones at above average. He's another one of those above average defensemen. I think if you put him on a lot of other teams, first off, how are you going to get him there? And second, I think that he is still a very good above average defenseman at this point in his career. I think he just gets paid a lot. That's the biggest thing with him. I think he gets paid a lot more than he should be getting paid. Definitely. But I think he's still a solid defenseman, just not in that high tier range that I think a lot of people believe him to be honest. All right, here's the big boy. Cale Makar, he's going in the best. He is by far the best. Right now, when you look in terms of career, current, he is the best. Puts up great offensive numbers, has good defensive numbers, has a Conn Smythe, a Norris, a Stanley Cup. I think he might even have 2 Norrises at this point. If not, he'll get one eventually. He is your best of the best. Without a doubt, he is your best of the best defenseman right now. So I believe that he has to stay at that top column, and really nobody else comes close except for maybe Quinn Hughes, but he is not the best in my eyes just yet. It is still Cale Makar after that impressive 21-22 season. Now, only 7 more defensemen left. We got Zach Werenski up next for Columbus. I think Werenski, a lot of it goes unnoticed, but I'm going to put him in good. I'm going to put him towards the bottom of good, though. I think that with Columbus, a lot of his good work goes unnoticed, but I think overall he is still a really solid number 1 defenseman for sure. And I think that a lot of that, like people look at Columbus like, oh, they're bad, they're not good. But Werenski carries a lot of that blue line and makes it somewhat watchable sometimes. So Werenski doesn't get enough credit, but he really should, to be honest. All right, Miro Heiskanen up next. I'm putting Miro Heiskanen right here, right in the very good column. I think that he sticks well there. Honestly, I think that he has to be, like with Dallas, they have such a meh blue line. Like, you look at that, you got Thomas Harley, Esa Lindell, that's your good side. Then your right side is just like Matt Dumba, Ilya Labushkin, and I think like Brendan Smith or something like that. It is not that good whatsoever. So I would stick Heiskanen in very good. He is at the top of very good, borderline elite. You could, again, argue him being elite. I would not disagree with you whatsoever there. So, Heiskanen at the top of very good, I think, is fine. Moritz Seider. Seider's at that point where, like, he's a good defenseman for sure. He's definitely going in this column, which makes the good look even larger than it really should be. Again, I'll make a few tweaks around. I'll cut the tape, and then I'll actually make a few like switches around. But Seider, I think, is still a good defenseman by my standards. I think that for a Detroit blue line that is not good, he is your clear number 1. I would put him above Werenski right now, personally. I know there's some people who have their doubts, but I think that Seider is the very clear number 1 defender on that team, and I think he is still a very good defenseman for sure. Again, a lot of tweaks I would make, so definitely I'm going to make some tweaks to this before I actually show you guys my final list. Gustav Forsling, I think, has to go here or here. I think we're going to put him here, though. I think he is at the top of good, maybe at the bottom of a very good. I might make a few decisions on that later on, but I think that overall, he is really impressive defensively, even has good numbers offensively, too. Has really he was like a waiver claim a while ago from, I think, Chicago or Carolina. Like, he was really bouncing around the league a lot. Then he came to Florida. Really found his home here. And I think that he is still a very good number 1 defender. You could argue Ekblad's your number 1, but I'm going to go with Forsling. I think Forsling's been more impressive down the stretch. So he is at the top of good when you're looking in terms of number 1 defenseman for me. Next up, Brock Faber. Faber will be way higher on this list when I do it later on, but he's in very good right now. I think Faber still working it out. He's in the second year of his NHL career. So, again, there's a few guys on this list where you can say that, but I think he has reached the status where he is still a very good defenseman. And I think that is fine for my placement, in my opinion. Charlie McAvoy for the Boston Bruins. I'm going to put him in very good as well. I'm actually going to put him below Dahlin and above Morrissey. I think he is still in that range. He's a very good defender, number one guy for Boston by far. Has been for a long time. And then last but not least, Jacob Slavin. I'm actually going to put him at the bottom of very good. So that's my current list. I'm going to try and make some changes here, and I'll be right back with your final list and final recording here. All right, so this is what I'm going to roll with here for my final list. So we have in the top two columns, the best and the elite. You have Cale Makar and then Quinn Hughes and Adam Fox. You know, that's your top three. That's your top three that is the best of the best. Then you're very good. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is your 4 to, 12? I think, or I can't do math. But these are like your next batch of really good defensemen that I think are in this right column. You got Miro Heiskanen, Roman Josi, Evan Bouchard, Rasmus Dahlin, Charlie McAvoy, Josh Morrissey, Jacob Slavin, and Gustav Forsling. You could, again, argue, Noah Dobson up here maybe, or, again, Jake Sanderson up here possibly. I think there's a lot of things you can do. You could tally this around however you want. People are not going to agree with me in the comment section. Then you have your good, and this is where the majority of your guys go. And I was a little bit like, I don't really know if I should have like all of these guys in good, but this is where your big bulk of guys are going to be. And I think that all of them are in a fine spot. I would move Faber a little bit down, maybe. Again, as you get towards the bottom, there's a lot of really good. There's still a lot of solid guys. But the good right now, Jake Sanderson at the very top. Noah Dobson, Victor Hedman, Dougie Hamilton, Shea Theodore, Moritz Seider, Rasmus Anderson, Mikhail Sergachev, Brock Faber, Zach Werenski, Morgan Riley, John Carlson, Brandon Montour, and Drew Doughty. Actually, thinking about it now, I might move. I'm gonna move. Yeah, I'm actually gonna keep it the same. I think that's fine. Again, I'm really bouncing back and forth here on this, and that's what I'm gonna be doing all day. Then you have your above average here, just kind of four guys that I think are they're not bad, but they're still above average. Chris Letang, I think, is at the top of this, just not at that pace that he is really anymore. Colton Parayko, Seth Jones, and Cam Fowler. Then you have your average guys that I think are just average. Average NHLers or average, number one guys. I think you have Travis Sanheim, Mike Matheson, and Jake Wallman here are the lowest to low. Actually, I think I'm going to move Doughty down. Kings fans are not going to like that. No, he's still a very good defenseman. I'm going to lay with that right now. That is what I'm rolling with. That is my final list, people, before I end this off. So again, that is my final list. That may not be everyone's list that everyone agrees with. So you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you guys very much for watching, though. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe down below. Comment on what you agreed with. Comment on what you disagreed with. Let me know your thoughts down below. And subscribe down below. We're getting even closer to 3,000. I think almost 70 away, which would be a pretty cool milestone to reach soon. But anyways, that'll do it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.